connection, and then I'm gonna send it to you as well,
Cool. And
and
I'll
then
just
we'll
open
get
that up on
started.
my IG.
Yeah, it'll pop up on your Instagram. Hold on,
Cool.
David.
This is my first time I've gone live in my entire Instagram career.
Is this the first time you're going live?
The first time I've ever gone live on IG.
That's crazy. All right, you should have gotten. Check your feed. You should have gotten it. There you are. All right, hang on. I'm gonna turn you down here. All right,
Let's see. So do
let's
I need
do
to
it. All right.
hold my phone up here, or do I just put it down?
Yeah, you just put it down. As long as I can see you, you're good to go. Oh, can't see you there. You got to set it up a little better. There you go.
I gotta actually set it up
Yeah,
here.
there you go. All right, let's jump at it. All right, guys, welcome back to the Bigger Life Mastermind. We've got none other than Mr. David Sienna. David, we've been in some sort of business. I was actually just reminding somebody of that this morning, going on almost 5 full years that we've been connected in the attraction space in some way, shape, or another. You've had an incredible journey from where you started to where you are today. And I thought, what a great idea to kind of get you on the mastermind, get people understanding how you've kind of built your business, and now you're coaching people in order to build their businesses through attraction as well, which I think is absolutely insane. So work me through it. I mean, you're young, you're hungry, you're doing all this crazy stuff. Where'd you get started, and how'd you get to where you are today?
I mean, I got started with you realistically.
I know, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was an inside sales agent booking appointments for you and your brokerage for probably 6 months. That was a lot of fun, but I think there was a little bit of lack between the booking of the appointment and the close in itself. And I think that's where our relationship really took off, was then how do we actually make money together? How do we impact more people? And how do we really learn how to influence at a high level? I think that
Right.
was the biggest thing that we did together, but that's obviously a 30,000 foot overview. So you take me where to where you want to go.
Yeah, I mean that's super high level. Let's deep dive. So we started 5 years ago, ISA, ATL, but you've always been in the attraction space.
Hmm.
What is it that you enjoy so much about that?
That's a loaded question. I think that more than anything, I love the art of like influencing. And I think
Right.
that's why, and I know you enjoy that too. You enjoy influencing, you enjoy frameworks, you enjoy giving people a proven path to win, essentially. I think that's something that I've enjoyed very much so, and really why I got into the recruitment role within Keller Williams. I think that's why we got into the lead generation role together. That's also the reason why I decided to get into coaching, is because I feel like there's a lot of individuals talking about how to win that don't really have the necessary frameworks to pass it on to the next person. And that's how we ended up here today, was that we were able to take something with our time together and now teach other people in a variety of different markets so we can go ahead and use that to win. I almost feel like the frameworks that we use, they negate any luck, which I absolutely love. The frameworks that Andre and I used in Kitchener Waterloo negated the luck of them not working anywhere else, which I
Right.
love.
Well, and I think that was such a impactful thing when you hear it, is that we had a small market that we weren't supposed to be able to do some of the stuff we were able to do in this market. We didn't have the big draw. You know, people say, oh my God, I got to have 10,000, 20,000 recruits to be able to win. You know, we had less than 1,800 that we were able to do it with. And we were able to recruit almost 100 people year over year, for almost 3 years in a row. And nobody believed it could be done.
That's crazy, eh?
And so I love that you said that, because it's like, you know, you take this framework and you say, okay, it's simple, it's easy. You mentioned lead generation, and you know, still to this day, I talk to leaders and they want to grow their businesses, and that's usually the first question I go to is, okay, well, what's your lead generation strategy? And you can kind of see them look at it and go, I'm not really sure what you mean.
Mm.
And you go, well, if you're lead generating for houses, if you're lead generating for a pizza store, if you're lead generating for a dentist office, like no matter what the business is, and Gary says this, right? You have two jobs, lead generation and then the actual business that you're in. And I think you've embodied that all the way through.
You know what I have on my desk like 5 6 years later was the
Lost you a little bit on audio there.
oh, can you hear me or no?
No, you're good.
I'm good. I was gonna say, speaking of lead generation, I still have this on my desk to this day. The the book and the framework you gave me on how to actually lead generate and do that, and I love that you mentioned that too, because I think that in our industry, specifically from the brokerage side, there's a lot of brokerage owners in our community are just waiting for leads to like come to us or come to
Right.
them. Sorry, they're not really focused on. Is the audio good there?
Yeah, I
No.
think you're good. Yeah, I think you're good.
Okay, sweet. Well, and like I love that you said that too, because I think that so many people are focused on attracting without actually doing the necessary work there, which I think you mentioned on.
Yeah, I mean, so what does that look like for you on an overall day-to-day basis?
Me right now is or me as a successful team leader and recruiter and salesperson.
I would say
I think
you right now. How has it changed? Has it changed at all, or are you still doing everything you were doing before?
when I first met you, I had like zero influence. So what I was doing back then when I first got into the role was a little bit different than what I'm doing now. Like when I first got into the real estate world, I knew nobody. I had
Right.
less than any influence there. And at the end of the day, and there's a little bit of feedback there. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay, but Instagram's telling me that they can't hear you on the live. So I'm not sure what happened to your phone.
Here, let me, that should be
There we
better.
go.
I think I'm on mute there.
Yeah, you're good now.
We're good now. Okay, perfect. No, going back to it, I think that I'd be doing everybody a disservice if we talked about what's working now, because what's working now wouldn't have worked back then.
Right.
So taking it a step further, like back then I had zero influence. I didn't know anybody. So it was very much so prospecting heavy. And it was very focused on how do we influence and get in front of people right now.
Right.
So when I first entered Waterloo, like the region that we were in, it was very much so about how can we get in front of people, how can we tell really good stories, and how can we influence people without having a real name behind you.
Hmm.
You know that it was a lot of cold calling, it was a lot of email campaigns, it was a lot of it was getting in trouble a lot in order to get in front of people. And I feel
Right.
like that's changed with now being in this coaching business. People now know who you are. We're
Hmm.
able to leverage our relationships a little bit more, and it's not as grimy as it what once was. I think
Wasn't
that's
that
the biggest thing
interesting though?
is
Like, when does that change? If we're being honest, like I don't know any other business that you go into with massive influence that you don't have to build the influence to start.
I think that in our world and in our ecosystem, people get a title and then they don't believe they still need to do the activities.
Mm. Wow. Say that again. That's powerful.
I believe that the biggest disservice business owners have in our ecosystem, whether you're a brokerage owner or you're given a title director of sales, etc., that's growth based, they're given that title and they negate the fact that they actually need to do work and they actually need to lead generate and they actually need to own the results.
Right. Now that
Because
makes
at the end
perfect
of the
sense.
day, and it's yeah, it's pretty powerful that line there. But at the end of the day, if you're not owning if you truly are owning your results, you're going to do the work regardless. You're going to pick up the phone if people aren't responding to your emails. If you're not getting those referrals, are you going to do the work or not?
Right. So you start without influence, you grind it. Pick up the phones, you're cold calling, you're meeting people, you're going to as many places as you possibly can to find people. Now you've got influence. So what changes now?
It's funny. The only thing that's really changed is the relationships that have been built.
Mm.
That's the only difference. So before I was cold calling for 6 hours a day and I was spending 2 hours on meetings that were making me money. Now
Right.
I'm spending 6 hours a day and now I'm pouring in and making phone calls to my relationships that are now feeding me more referrals. That's the only difference. Is before I was spending 90% of my time booking appointments with people who are motivated, and now it's spending 90% of my time actually feeding in and making money with people who are my clients and spending the other 20% doing that lead generation, making the copy, finding motivated individuals. That's the only thing that's changed. And I think that as this business is going to start to grow, I want to hold on to the sales portion of it as much as possible before leveraging that out. And I know we've talked about that too, like the art of leverage.
Absolutely. Well, and that's the thing is Gary says you're technically not supposed to leverage out lead generation. Like if you're not connected to that in some way, shape, or form, not going to be helpful.
Hmm.
So
Well,
I love that you said that.
it's interesting. I literally just got out of business. I fired a client this like 2 days ago based on the fact that they were just not even wanting to do any of the art. They didn't want to send out emails to people cold. They didn't want to pick up the phones. They didn't want to be like, meeting vendors and asking for business. And I just thought that was mind blowing. Like, how do you expect to take market share if you're not willing to do the work?
Wow. So is there anywhere that you can apply the strategies that you're doing? And let's just use real estate as a blanket because you've got residential, commercial, industrial, you've got lead generation in all different avenues. But at the end of the day, if you're attracting agents or anybody into your business, is there a limitation to the strategy?
So I'm in the mortgage industry. I'm in life insurance right now. I'm in like a variety of different sales roles as well, including real estate. And the same principles that we use here are the exact same. It doesn't change at all. And I
Wow.
think Gary Keller says it too in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. If you're not booking appointments, you don't have a business.
Right. So give me like your I'm a brand new recruiter. I'm brand new to this attraction game. I've never done it. Walk me through how I go from where I am now to where you are today.
Hmm. Well, I think the first thing that we did together at a very high level was we built a database,
Step
right?
one.
That was the first step, right? And I'm not telling you anything. I know you already know this because you taught this stuff to me, but for everybody else, the first thing that we did was we built a database. So if we were finding talent, that would look like getting every single person that we can sell to in a given database.
Right.
The second part of that was how do we grow that every single day? Who are
Yeah.
we meeting? Who are we getting referred to? Who are we actively reaching out to so we can grow our sphere, grow that database in general? And that doesn't change if you're a brokerage owner, doesn't change if you're a realtor, doesn't change if you're in life insurance, mortgages, etc. It's literally all the same. Build the database, feed the database daily. And the third thing was how are we actively providing value and articulating to our database every single day?
Right.
I think that the biggest thing, and I've talked about this so much, like in Arizona, we're okay. There's 55,000 agents in Arizona we could recruit to. We only had 1,800 max in Kitchener-Waterloo. There's 55,000 agents in Arizona. I knew that if every single person was getting 3 to 5 emails every 10 days, there'd be enough agents that would be motivated to make moves.
Right.
There wasn't a ton of
It's
value. Sorry.
no, I said that's crazy funny because I hear 3 to 5 emails in 10 days. So that's an email every 2 to 4 days. And I think people are so scared of doing that. They're so afraid of being in that inbox and creating inbox equity.
Yeah, I love that inbox equity. I'm gonna steal that.
Right? I didn't come up with that one. I heard that from somebody else. I think Phil Jones gave us that one where he said, you have to it's like any other bank, right? You're developing the relationship through their inbox and is the equity that you're building garbage or is it actual true equity? And I think
Mm,
that's an important thing. But if you're looking at a new agent coming through, or any agent for that matter, it sounds like the playbook is very simple. Build a database, add value to it, have great conversations, change their lives.
mhm. Well, I think too, you mentioned people are maybe a little bit hesitant to getting inside people's inboxes. Andre, if you had value to provide, genuine value that you could provide to people, would you be scared to get in there? If you
So
had
what does that look
genuine
like? I guess
value.
that's the question. Is we're probably getting people that are wondering what's general value.
Well, typically I look at, and I'm not, this is not organic. This isn't a David Santa original or anything. I took this from the book Expert Frameworks by Russell Brunson, and he breaks it down very simply when getting inside people's inboxes. he mentions ever so slightly that there's 3 things you need to do every single time you're in somebody's inbox, and you're going to get people unsubscribing, but you're never going to get any negative connotations to your name. He mentions that there's always a hook that's happening in the market. There's always a pain point that's out there that somebody's feeling. For agents right now, if I was trying to recruit an agent, there was a NAR stat that said halfway through the year, 90% of agents haven't completed a transaction. That's a pretty massive hook.
Wow.
If I were to email you that, would you unsubscribe? Maybe, but if you're a producing agent who hasn't done a transaction, probably not. And then Russell goes on to talk about how there needs to be a story behind how you've influenced somebody else who is in the exact same position as you.
Right.
And then what's that like clear call to action about how you can actually take action and make more money? So I think that's been the biggest 3 things, because I probably sent out, I mean, if we're doing the math right now and we've already gone through, 20, let's say 25 weeks of the year, I've averaged roughly, even with this new coaching business, I probably average between 3 to 4 emails a week. It's my main source of business right now. So, and I think using that framework, I don't know if you could go wrong with that. What do you think about that?
No, I mean, it's pretty simple, right? Hook, find the pain, influence.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that you said call to action. I think far too many times we do this marketing, we send stuff out, we get people looking at our stuff, and we forget to have some sort of call to action. Call me, text me, email me, follow up, click this link, whatever. So important, I think it's pretty straightforward, and I don't see any differences in any other business.
It's the exact same.
Right. I think it was Tony Robbins that said, over 100 years of business hasn't changed. How you do it hasn't changed. It has evolved slightly, but there's no new secrets.
Mm.
It's huge.
Mm.
Absolutely huge. So I think it's important to continue to remember that in people, and understand that attraction in agents is no different than attraction in leads, is no different than attraction in listings, buyers, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, it's crazy too, even just thinking about the quality of the individuals in our ecosystem. The people that are winning aren't the most skilled. The people that are winning definitely don't have the best value proposition. You see it. You see it. I do. You see
Absolutely.
it everywhere. Whether
Yeah,
it's recruiting, whether it's agents in I'm not gonna say a specific area, doing a ton of deals. Some of the most the biggest money makers we know in the industry can't even have a coherent conversation.
and
They're
that's
just
no offense to anybody,
no
right? They
offense,
just build great systems.
but it just shows that action negates everything. Action
Yes.
negates luck. Action negates your skill.
Yeah.
Action is the one fail-safe thing you can implement to win. Whether it's marketing with emails, whether it's picking up the phone and calling, if you're in front of people, and I think it actually says it in this book you gave me, doesn't matter if you're blue, brown, purple, if you have a university education, if you're charismatic, you're still going to win if you just have the conversations.
100%. It's funny. When I first got in the business, a friend of mine gave me a plaque. It was like my first month in the industry. And I still have that plaque. It's in my basement. And I know you've seen it as well. We've talked about it. And it's a Calvin Coolidge talks about persistence. And he says, nothing in this world can take the pace of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent.
Mm,
Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence, determination are omnipotent. And it changed my thinking, because how many people are talented and broke? How many people are the most educated and broke and can't figure it out, right? And so I think it's important to note that persistence in your business, in your craft, will outweigh everything else.
mm.
You have that opportunity if you stay true to who you are.
I'm stealing that. I have that to listen over to it like 10 times, so that's so good.
Honestly, it was one of the things that helped me very, very early on, is understanding that you're going to have highs, you're going to have lows, but at the end of the day, if you keep pushing through, if you keep continuing through, there is another side.
Mm,
And I don't think most people understand that.
mm,
So there's another one, right? You talk about acres of diamonds and the fact that most people give up right before they're about to hit that acres of diamonds,
mm,
right? Because that's when it's the hardest. It's the hardest right before you win.
mm.
And so you do all the work, you trudge through the mud, you fight and fight and fight. And then you say, I'm never going to get there. And you're like one call away, one door knock away, one text message away from that person saying, hey, I got my hand up. I'm ready to have a conversation with you.
And there's that saying too. I don't think this is a David Sienna original, but you're one relationship away from $1 million. Have you heard that
Right.
one?
I have heard that one, yeah.
So good.
So you're now coaching leadership, and what does that look like for you?
I mean, on a day to day, the frameworks that we use, like what are you wanting to dig into?
So what made you go into coaching, I guess, first and foremost?
You know what's funny is I was in Arizona. So I was with you first. We had a lot of fun, like you mentioned. We recruited like 100 agents a year in a very small market, and then we went to Arizona, and I was running the brokerage down there. I was the co-team leader down in Arizona. Had a lot of fun there, and our metrics were very very strong, and that led to other individuals within the industry saying, "Hey, how are you doing that thing from Zoom without having any influence within your first 3 months?" Like I think we did something crazy. Like we recruited 87 million in volume in
Oh,
3 months, all from Zoom. So
wow.
once that story was being told on the, Keller Williams International Growth Call, that
Right.
honestly it was funny because the same individuals that are giving me cease and desists actually built this career by putting me on their platform.
Wow.
So that's really how I was. I don't have really a background in coaching. Obviously, we coach and consult our agents, but I didn't know that I was going to get into it. It was more or less, hey, do you mind teaching me exactly what you did in order to get that? And that led to a very unique coaching style, which has then grown from there.
Right. That's pretty cool. I mean, you're now helping the people, like you mentioned, that at one point were upset with you.
I mean, they're still pretty upset.
I guess it's that. I mean, I think it was Tom Ferry that posted it very, very recently, and he said, if you're winning, you're gonna create haters.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I posted this on LinkedIn, but I often will like put my like journal entries on like online just because I have no shame in them. But I realized like after leaving that job, the team leader position in Arizona, it's funny how everybody at the same level where you're at, they're gonna like kind of like, why are you doing that? Or they're going to
Right.
very much so like push you, almost like push you down, and almost like have that like hater energy. But everybody else above you is going to be super supportive. But the tricky part about that too is like it's rare where people are going to continue to support you, because I feel like
Right.
as you're growing and as you're surpassing individuals, then you only are going to create more hate as well. But there's same individuals who are rooting for you are still winning and growing with you. I think that's where we have a very unique relationship, is that we like grow together, and we're always in business in some way, shape, or form. There's never any competition because we know where the growth is going to be, which I love, because there's never. And I kind of we talked about this before. I love being in business with you because I know that as you're over here, I'm over here, this young buck, and even though I'm growing, you're also growing, which I love, because it's like I'm chasing after you, but you're still friggin', you got the motorboats on, which I love. So I
Well,
think
I think I
that's
told
also.
you one day you're gonna have to try to catch me, right?
Well, I'm still trying to catch you, but it's like you're still growing.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what's important is, even when you were first coming in, I didn't look at you and say, okay, David's coming in, he's got nothing to teach me, right? Every step of the way, it's been a two-way street in both our journeys. So when we get together, I learn from you, you learn from me. There's that continuous growth pattern. There's never been an instant where we've been competitors, even when we weren't in business together. it's always been collaborative, it's always been growth focused, and then it's how can we both win together. And I
Hmm.
think that's super important for a lot of people to remember.
Hmm. Well, there's so much business out there. There's so much money to make. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like why people would decide to compete or not want to. I feel like the people that are we do bump heads with are so focused on retaining rather than growth. And I think truthfully, I think retaining is one of the worst words in our industry in general
Right.
because
So,
buy
David,
and
hold on a
sell.
second. We're getting an echo on the IG Live. Turn your speaker down on your MacBook.
Okay, no, just put my earphones in.
Yeah, that works too.
Let me put my earphones in. Turn my Bluetooth off here. Yeah, I'll put my earphones in.
That should solve the echo.
We
Sweet.
good now?
I'd imagine so.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So,
Should be
yep.
awesome.
So yeah, I mean, let's pick that up where we left off. Sorry about that, guys.
So we're talking about retention specifically and how it's probably the worst word in our industry.
Yeah.
Well, in my brain, thinking about the word retention, we talk about growth, we talk about retention. Every single week on every single growth call, those are the two words that are there. Before we dig into both of those items, what's our one mission that you have as a brokerage owner? Like if you're true, and you told me this, which I love, what's your mission as a brokerage owner if you're talking to a top agent at a different brokerage? What's the mission for your office?
Well, the mission is to provide value that agents can grow their businesses. Plain and simple.
Boom. So if we're looking at retention, it's almost like we're looking to hold people in a place instead of in using your mission, you would never need to retain anybody if you're continually pouring into them and helping them grow. I think that's a massive mindset shift that blew my mind once I had that realization.
Yeah. Well, and that's the job, right? When you step into leadership, it stops being about you and it starts to be about others. And I think a lot of leaders miss that point in that they forget that mission because we all embark on that mission and then different things show up in your life that maybe pull you off of that, financials, et cetera, that pull you off that mission. But ultimately, if you're providing value back into the people that you're leading, you're doing your job. But retention is a game that I think people overestimate in that you can't keep everyone. So
Hmm.
you have to have both sides, right? You have to be able to grow and you have to be able to retain. It's called your front door and your back door. But both sides is a value conversation. And I
Hmm.
think it's the same thing when you get into selling any product or service, homes, cell phones. I don't think it matters the product that you're selling. You always need to have a value add everywhere through.
Mm, I love that.
It's gold, right? So I think the important thing to remember is, attraction is no different than anything else that we're doing. It's still a lead generation activity. And I have people say that to me all the time, hey, I'm not attracting anybody, I'm not bringing in people to join my team or bringing in people to join my brokerage. And it's the same conversation. There's a missing link in your value provisions that either you don't know, and this happens a lot of times too, where you have the most value and you just don't know how to articulate it.
Mm,
So are you able to articulate your value? Do you have an elevator pitch? Do you have 30 seconds or more? Because the attention span of humans is now down to 3 seconds. It used to be 9, now down to 3 seconds. And so you said it right away, hook, pain, influence. So what's the
hmm.
hook that's going to make them slow down and listen to me? What's the pain that I'm going to be able to solve? And do I have influence in the area that I'm trying to do it?
Mm.
Super, super simple. And I took that. It's funny because I didn't hear Russell Brunson say it, nor did I read his book, that specific book. I've read a couple of his others, but I didn't read that one. So I didn't have those three things. But as soon as you said it, it resonated with everything else that we've already been talking about.
Is anything ever original? Ever?
Now,
Nothing is ever original. I swear. I think I heard in that book that he took a lot of his stuff from Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins took all of his stuff from Zig Ziglar, Dale
Zig
Carnegie, all
Ziglar,
those.
yeah.
Nothing's original, right? So.
Well, and that's the thing. I think it's a new perspective on learning the information. And so
Mm,
you're saying it to people now, but you learned it from Tony and Russell and Grant and all these other great leaders. But it's gonna have the David Sienna flair to it, the same as it's gonna have the Andre Chin flair to it. But isn't that the message of growth? Right?
mhm.
As I grow, I allow others around me to grow, and I'm able to pour back into them and give them that same information that I've been learning.
I'm well, and I mean, if you're just reading these books and taking these concepts, it's honestly just mental masturbation. Yeah, I can't take exactly what Zig's doing step by step by step. There's always got to be it's that mental masturbation until you actually do something with it and you start executing, right?
Right. Execution changes lives, right? That's awesome. Well, David, listen, we're at our time. It's been, a great time catching up with you. I think we've given the folks at home some really great information on how to start attraction. But one of the things that I find important when we do this is people will have follow-up questions and they'll want to know more. What's the best way to get a hold of you? Are you Instagram heavy, Facebook heavy, email, text? How do you want people to reach out to you when they do?
My Instagram is david.siena, david.siena. I think we'll be good there.
One N, not two.
One N. One N. Like the city.
One N. So Instagram, easiest David.Sienna with one N. And you can reach out to David if you have any questions. He's also in the market for coaching leadership. So if you are looking at your business and you're thinking, hey, I have an opportunity to grow my business and I'd love to have some help, hit him up on Instagram, reach out as well, and he'll be able to help you with that. This guy's truly a legend. He's done incredible things in 5 years. I think what's cool, and most people don't know this, David, is you haven't had your 28th birthday yet, and you've been able to amass such a massive following, a ridiculous amount of growth in such a short time, and really changing the narrative of what younger people can do, right? You've never let that be a hurdle for you. You've never let ageism hold you back. And you've always kind of looked at it and said, hey, age is just a number. Doesn't matter to me. I'm going to keep grinding, keep growing. And that's, I think, a credit to what you've done as well. So if you're looking to connect with David, hit him up on Instagram. We are the Bigger Life Mastermind. So you do know where to find us as well. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Make sure you give us a follow. And David, I do truly appreciate your time today. It's been wonderful kind
I
of
love
catching
that.
up with you.
Can I say one more thing that you said there?
Absolutely.
One of my favorite quotes ever is confidence is a prerequisite for success, which is I've been
Absolutely.
saying since high school. And what I'd also say to what you said there too is the fact that, and we know that you're the average of the 5 to 10 people you spend the most time with. And since Andre's confident, I'm confident. It doesn't matter how old I am. I'll also say too, though, and this is like obviously confidence is a prerequisite for success. But if you say anything with a lot of conviction and a lot of confidence, you're gonna win.
Absolutely.
It doesn't even matter if you know the stuff as good as you should. If you say it with enough confidence and conviction, you're gonna win.
You just
Always.
got to believe in yourself, right? You got to
Always.
believe in yourself. Some of the craziest people out there saying the craziest stuff in the world have followers behind them because they're confident and they believe in what they're talking about. So it's super
Heck yeah.
important. I love it. David, great line to close on. And thank you so much for your time today. It's been absolutely epic. We do appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Andre.